All right, headline number 4. Zara is now charging customers in the UK for online returns. According to industry.fashion, starting this month, UK customers who have purchased an item online will now have to pay $1.95 sterling that will be deducted from their full product refund. Customers will also have 30 days to return any items, and they can no longer return separate orders in the same box. Purchases made in store can still be returned free of charge if they are returned to a store in the same region. So net, this means if you live in the UK and you want to return a Zara item you purchased online, it sounds like you're going to have to pay roughly £2 to do so. So Mike, I'm curious, do you see this as a one-off implementation, or do you see this as a sign of something more to come more broadly across retail? What's your take here?
It's a broad retail challenge. So we did a lot of research on this. I mean, the cost of returns, the amount of returns, it is very expensive. It's very difficult. The flip side is the consumer wants the easiest, simplest, hassle-free experience. And actually, we did a fair amount of research that said a consumer makes a purchasing decision based on their perception of how easy it is to return.
Exactly.
So this flies against all of that, obviously. The only, I would say, caveat in Zara's case is, and this is where I see a little bit of a hybrid one-off. The model of a Zara consumer is going to be to buy 10 things, try them all on, and see what you like and don't you like. So I can think they have a bit of a more unique tech tied to their customer model. I don't see this as a go forward industry. I think this would be a very difficult industry trend. And I'll be curious. I don't think it will go well with Zara customers as well.
And do you think the same thing?
I think I agree. Doing this like cold turkey and just do, especially as an avid Zara shopper, like this is going to be a nightmare. If you're going to not only make me wait in line and you're going to charge me for the returns, like it's a terrible experience to do in store.
Yeah, for an online item. Yeah. 100%.
Yes, I think you're going to start to see abandonment of baskets of people waiting in the same line to purchase Zara thing. I mean, again, I've said this ad nauseum on this podcast, but like waiting in line at Zara on a Saturday is like an hour-long thing. This is not. It's a terrible experience. And now you're going to have people who I think if you have people coming in returns and doing that, it's going to be a disaster. But my hope is that we start to see Zara expand the pilot that they're doing in Madrid right now with like the Cleveron pickup and return lockers, where if you are going to do this, tell me, like Mike's saying,
what are my options?
Tell me in advance.
The price?
I can go in, and if I submit this return via the return locker, then I don't get charged for that. And I do think that because of the impact of returns for other fast fashion online retailers like Zara, we are going to start to see this happen where they're going to get charged, or you have to take an option that's going to reduce friction, both from the store associates and from the consumer.
That's a really interesting point. So you're saying, like, do we set the price high at
Yes.
the funnel so buyer beware what you're
Exactly.
going to get, and then do we over time start to come up with new ways to take that cost out of the equation for
Yes.
consumers? It's very easy for them to understand. That's an interesting
And
point.
I just spoke with this morning. I'm going to be interviewing a founder of a company who used to be in charge of innovation for Inditex. He used to be the global head of innovation. And I asked him
Shop
about
Talk?
Shop Talk
Nice.
in Europe. And I asked him about this, and he's like, I think we will start to see so many more retailers start to roll this out. Like his perspective was, this is something that the industry cannot avoid. It's the cost of returns is so significant, especially in these types of categories, that they have to do something to kind of make up for that.
That's a really interesting position. I hadn't thought about it from that angle of like, do we reset the level and then give people options coming down that line? I never thought about that, because I was kind of where Mike was initially, and even where you were too, where this seems like a hard thing for consumers to swallow, but maybe not over the long haul if you think about it that way. Dave, what do you think?
I mean, we've just spent decades training a consumer to buy a whole bunch of products, try on different sizes, and send them back. I'm always a little wary when you talk about tearing a Band-Aid off after 20 years of taught behavior, right? I'm kind of with Mike. I think it's risky. That said, I think it's something to keep an eye on, because I mean, returns is clearly a huge problem, and an expensive problem that I think retailers do need to figure out, and whether that's a tiered system like you guys were talking about, or this, pay to return. It also feels like a lot for the order size at Zara. So it's just, I think it's I think it'll be tough to to drive adoption. I think it'll actually probably hurt their e-commerce sales in the UK. But it's certainly something to keep an eye on because it's a problem that needs to get solved.
Yeah, it's interesting. So you think one last question. So you think 2 pounds is a lot, roughly? You think that, for them, that's a lot? Or because my initial inclination was like, yeah, okay, maybe that's not that much too. Like it doesn't actually dissuade me from still doing it or still trying it to some degree. But
I just feel like Zara is such a value brand that I worry that anything over, like one is too much, right? Like
so
I
anything
think it's,
is detrimental.
any dollar number for the Zara customer. I mean, the whole point of fast fashion is for people that can afford it.
All right, makes sense. Yeah.
I actually think Ann, though, is on to where I think this could evolve.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
What I am seeing is retailers today trying to incent the customer to go to the most efficient model. Amazon set up a deal with Kohl's to try to run things through Kohl's, and they actually incent you. You get a discount if you go back there. So I think the retailers are at the stage of carrots, so to speak, trying to get you to find the most efficient path back. It would not surprise me to see them add some sticks. Like if you choose to go the other path, we're going to charge you. The problem has to get solved. They need to get the product going in a more efficient return process.